What's up, everybody? I'm Caleb Ocho, also known as NFL Caleb 22, and this is Betting the NFL Divisional Round weekend. And as always, I'm here with me. Here with me is my co-host Derek Wedley, also known as DWeezy. What's going on, man?
Man, trying to enjoy these playoffs, coming off one of the roughest weeks yet. But that's something that can tend to happen when you get to the playoffs. There being less games, less action in general. The lines are sharper, the angles are harder to find, and this is something a lot of people experience across. We're starting to see betting legalized almost everywhere in the United States. It's more minority if you don't have mobile or at least retail betting in your state. Um, so you know, trying to grind through it. Got these divisional round games. Looking to make some money like we always do.
Yeah, just a few more opportunities to win some money. We got this week, next week, and then the Super Bowl. So we'll say what's up to Jose. It'll be hard. It's getting harder and harder. But we'll with the few opportunities that we have left, we're gonna make the best of them. We're gonna win you guys some money, because that is the goal of the show. Now, before we get into our bets of the week, we got to recap what happened in the Super Wild Card weekend, and we'll start with the favorites against the spread. 2-4, not a good week. A lot of underdogs were hitting against the spread. Home dogs were 2-0. What's going on? Dave on says I came here just to verify. Yeah. Uh, I died for a little bit. I had to keep living on for some reason. Um, Next we got the home teams against the spread, and they went 4-2. So a good week for them. Like I said, home dogs were 2-0. But the overs were even split, three overs and three unders. So anything that stands out to you on any of those numbers?
Um, I don't know if it's more than just coincidence, but the home team's winning. It being the opening round of the playoffs. We've we've talked about home field advantage. Now, if we're talking regular season, we made our thoughts clear on that. But I do think a different argument could be potentially made for the playoffs. Just simply because it being that playoff atmosphere. I would imagine that there were probably, a number of Tampa Bay games this season where the crowd was a lot less interested, a lot less invested. Um, Probably wasn't a sellout crowd or something to that degree. And that would not be the case when you're talking about hosting a home playoff game, regardless of it being the wild card round, regardless of what people think you might do as far as advancing into the playoffs, how the rest of the season might go for you. And so to see that the home teams won the majority of the games this weekend, it does raise a question. Maybe home field advantage does still exist in the playoffs.
Yeah, at least for some teams, not my team. Um,
I didn't say it.
well, but we'll get into that, because that's our next topic, and that is the biggest upset of the week, and of course, it is the uh, Green Bay Packers at the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys were minus 7.5 favorites. They lose at 48-32, and it wasn't even that close. Like you just said, Cowboys were at home and they won like 16 straight games. And coming into this one, it didn't seem like they were going to get beat. I don't think a lot of people uh, thought that the Packers even had a chance in this one, and not only even a chance to cover the spread. I mean, I thought we were both confident in this pick of them covering the 7.5 point spread, but Cowboys unprepared coming in. They just weren't ready at the very start of the game. I mean, they let uh, the Packers go right down the field on them. And it was the same old problems that plagued this team this entire season. They commit 2 penalties, and we're one of the most penalized team in the league. That popped up right away in the first drive. Let them go down the score, take the lead, and guess what? We don't play well when we're behind. Dak tries to force it to CD, tries to force it to Cooks. Neither one of them got open. He throws 2 picks early, and then it just spirals out of control. They uh, they couldn't do anything to resist them on defense. Again, we cannot stop the run. We cannot stop Aaron Jones. That's been a problem all season long, and pretty much all the whole time we've been with Dan Quinn as a defensive coordinator. He can't figure out a way to stop the run. And then the passing, there was no pass rush. Michael Parsons didn't show up at all. Like there was no Michael Parsons signing. He wasn't making any pressures. There was nobody in Jordan Love's face. He had plenty of time to throw the ball, and he picked apart the soft ass coverage that we were playing. We were playing some stupid zone coverage that like tons of space for the receivers to get open. And they just played horrible on defense. And then yeah, just overall the offense couldn't try to do something in the second half, but it was too much because the defense wasn't doing nothing. And yeah, they were just an extremely embarrassing loss. I don't think a lot of bettors um, saw this one coming, and yeah, just everybody kind of overlooked this Packers team coming into this one, and they were a little undervalued. But I don't. But considering how well the Cowboys have been playing at home, I thought the point spread was correct. But it was just a huge upset loss.
Yes, this was definitely a shocker to a lot of people out there. Uh, a lot of books they put the number where they did because they felt the Cowboys were a strong favorite coming into this game. Yes, there was a couple trends out there that pointed in the Packers' direction. Um, but as you mentioned, coming into this game, stopping the run had been an issue for the Cowboys, and Aaron Jones came in with a little bit of a point to prove. It seemed, uh, and as you said, the Packers were able to get up early in this game. They got that momentum in their favor, and it seemed like the majority of the game, if not the rest of the game, the Cowboys were never able to flip that momentum back in their favor. And this game was out of reach before halftime, and I mean, you rarely see that happen to any team, regardless of the situation in the playoffs. And so, you know, for Cowboys backers out there like you and me, it was a tough one to watch. That's clear. Um, as my man Davon mentions in the chat,
Yeah.
may have not been all due to Green Bay, but Green Bay came in and did what they needed to. As you mentioned, Parsons was pretty much invisible for large portions of the game. Um, and when you have somebody that's, a sack monster like him, that can't happen in a playoff game. You know, you might be able to get by in a regular season game, a main producer not showing up. But when it's playoffs, you got to show up in every game, or if you're not careful, these are the outcomes you get. And it's clear that the Cowboys weren't the only team this past weekend that struggled in the same fashion and now find themselves sitting at home on the couch watching the rest of the playoffs with regular folks like you and me.
Yeah, totally agree with Dave on. I put it squarely on the coach for not getting this ready and contributing to this complete embarrassing performance that they had. But no, I'll be sad about that for a little longer. But we got to get to the bad beat of the week, and it came in the only real game on the weekend because all of them were blowouts. And that came in the Rams at the Lions. Lions were minus 166 on the money line. Um, but for all the Rams betters, This definitely was a bad beat when you lose by just 1 point. Um, you know, in a very close game. Obviously, you had Goff, you had Stafford playing against their old teams. And it definitely was kind of a back and forth battle, even though the Rams never led in the game. But every time the Lions scored, they did have a response. They did, whether it was a touchdown or a field goal, they did score after the Lions, scored. So it was still back and forth throughout the game. But what really hits the bad beat is that the Rams had the ball in Detroit territory. Um, they were getting ready to score. They but then the got off the ball to Nakua. That ended up being incomplete, but there was clear pass interference on that play. Everybody saw it. Was not called. The Rams end up deciding to punt it away, never get the ball back, and that was pretty much the game for them. So that just leaves a horrible taste in your mouth, and for all the Rams betters who lost on that, because that would have set them up for at least be able to take the lead with very little time left if they had gotten that first down. After seeing that, that is definitely a tough way to lose a bet right there.
Yes, most definitely, because in Detroit, you're talking about a team that's been one of the more aggressive play calling teams throughout the season. This has just been, Dan Campbell's style. I'm not sure if they're first in attempts on first down, but that's the mentality. They're more likely to go for it. They're more likely to try and push that envelope a little bit. Um, and I think, a lot can be said about McVay punting the ball with 4 minutes left. Um, I mean, you're already talking about a short field. So it would, you know, with the offense they had, yes, Stafford, he was getting beat up in this game, but your defense hadn't shown that they can stop in, regardless of who it was. We saw Montgomery go out there, pick up good yardage. Gibbs was gashing the defense all game long. Um, Aaron Donald, he seemed to be fair. He got pressure. He got, he was getting through the line, but it was managed chaos. Aaron Donald's the type of player where you're not going to shut him down, but if you can chip him and redirect him just enough, he'll be out the play long enough for your running back to be able to get to the whole maneuver, maybe, take on a linebacker, get to the next level, things of that nature. And we just saw, like we said with Parsons, we seemed to see little, at least, as far as getting to the quarterback, putting pressure on, running back stops in the backfield. The defense just wasn't getting it done. And if you know the other team's going to be coming out looking to run the ball and you haven't been able to stop them on the run, and you have a chance to potentially take the lead, I mean, even if you don't get that fourth down, you're still talking about there being 4 minutes, 3+ minutes left in the game. I'm not sure there's timeout situation, but you still have the 2 minute warning in your favor. Um, so it just seemed very odd that a coach like McVay, who I won't say he's traditionally been, aggressive on fourth downs, but he's definitely not had an issue, uh, pushing that envelope a little bit in situations that may not be the traditional move.
All right. We'll get into our records of the week. And I had a pretty good week. I went 3-2. My best pick was the Dolphins at the Chiefs. I had the Chiefs -4, and they win it 26-7. And I thought this was a pretty predictable game to bet. I was extremely confident in this one because we all knew. We all knew the Dolphins couldn't beat good teams, and to think that they were going to go on the road and beat Patrick Mahomes in the cold, so cold that Mahomes had his helmet broken, and beers were freezing in the stands, and to think that this high power, Miami offense was going to do something against this defense and the Chiefs, which has been really good this season. Actually, their strength, something they have relied on um, when because of some of the problems they've had in the receiving game. Um, the Dolphins just I did not see them doing anything, and that's exactly what happened. They scored 7 points. Um, they did nothing. Their rece- their se- their passing game was nullified due to the weather. The Dolphins decided not to run the ball much. Instead to throw it almost 40 times. Um, Tua was like completing only like 50% of his passes. The only Hill was pretty much ineffective. He had one long catch that scored a touchdown, and that was kind of it. Holmes just kind of got it to the one guy that was catching the ball, which was Rice, and that was pretty successful. And that's all he needed to get up on them, and that was pretty much a layup for me. Wasn't worried about this game at all.
No, I was on the other side of this game, but if you recall, I was saying, look to this game as an under. Game total fell under. I was saying unders all around. Miami team total, they clearly came under that. I'd have to double check the. I'm not sure about the first half. But it's quite possible that you were able to cash out under in that situation, depending on exactly where the number was at. Um, I felt this game would end up being a little bit closer, and even towards the end of this game, it wasn't until late that KC got that final TD, relying more on their run game. But you know, in a lot of this game, the Dolphins were just one score away, but drive after drive, it just seemed they couldn't move the ball. Even on that long pass to Tyreek Hill, it was, gravely underthrown. The fact that he was able to adjust and get to the ball to
Yeah.
catch it at all was impressive. And then the fact that the Cheetah went and did Cheetah-like things and found the end zone. If it wasn't for that, we're likely talking about a shutout here. So while at the same time that they weren't able to really move the ball, um, just wicked harsh conditions, as you said, NFL helmet shattered. Like, I mean, I don't even really know how to quantify that because I really want some like sports science people up here to like, I don't know. We need some MythBusters. We need to see, we need to see some recreations because that was impressive in itself. Like, but so yes, ended up being an L for me. Expected a little bit of a lower scoring output from Kansas City, but Kansas City does Kansas City like things, and they moving on to the next round of the playoffs.
Uh-huh. My worst pick, on the other hand, was besides the Cowboys in game because obviously that was the worst. But we already talked about that one. But my other loss was also a really bad loss as well. I took the Browns -2.5 at the Houston Texans, and they got blown out 45-14. And even though I picked the Browns, I wasn't surprised at the Texans win this game. I just thought that Flacco, with how he was winning these games in the regular season, and he was kind of like on a hot streak there, along with his playoff experience, and the fact that he was playing a rookie quarterback, that would just play out in favor of the Browns. But we've been surprised about CJ Stroud's play pretty much all season. How well the Texans have played as a team. Um, I thought Flacco would make mistakes like he has been, but they seem to have overcome them with how well their defense has played, and that I think that was a difference in this game. Their defense didn't play good. They didn't stop anything that the Texans were throwing out them. He was completing everything, hitting his mark, and they weren't stopping anything. So I think that's their the Browns defense didn't allow Flacco to make those mistakes and try to overcome them. They were just getting beat up themselves, and it all went to crap after that. And yeah, I was so that was kind of bad bet, but wasn't a surprising one though.
Yes, I was on this exact same play, and man, I don't think I don't think anybody ever handicaps back to back pick sixes. Like, I mean, that's you want to talk about a point swing. That's something right there, because you could be up by 7 points and 2 plays later be down by a touchdown. I mean, that's just insane in itself. You have an occurrence like that in a game, and I'd be shocked if the other team didn't win, because if they didn't, how awful was their offense? Because that wasn't the case with Houston. Um, Houston shown, I think you and me both expected a better performance out of the defense of Cleveland. That being the reason that we wouldn't see a high performance out of this Houston offense. Well, Cleveland, I guess, decided to stay up north because Houston was down south cooking, and
Um,
C.J. Stroud was leading the way, and I mean, this if this team wasn't going up against a 1 seed this week, I think they'd be a scary matchup for any of the other teams left in the AFC playoffs. Because at this point, I mean, they've been dangerous all season because they're playing without expectations. It's that simple. And here they find themselves in the playoffs, and now they've proven to themselves that they can win in the playoffs.
how'd you do overall this weekend?
Oh, it was a fit. I can if I'd have to double check, but not a. I went all season with at least getting one win. Not a single one in the playoffs. You want to talk about a rough week? Cleveland had a rough week. Philly had a rough week. The Cowboys had a rough week. No, DWeezy had a rough week. So, you know, I can definitely relate to some of the pain floating out around, the NFL, as a lot of people find themselves out of the playoffs, because I can definitely say I'm not too excited about the way the playoffs started out for me.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I just get hot. I get hot in the playoffs. Like I have I kind of a so up and down regular seasons. I don't know. For some reason, I get hot in the playoffs and I start hitting bets. Uh, but yeah, probably because I get all I go like I said. I always go by trends and I go by the numbers and I look at everything. And since I have a whole full season of trends and numbers, I really lean into that. Um, and it helps me out a lot. At least it helped me out this week. Having a winning week this week. But before we get into the divisional round, we'd like to help you guys out. If you guys can help us out by subscribing to the channel, hitting the like button, and sharing this with anybody. Share it with your friends, share it with your family, anybody who likes making money and who doesn't like to make money. So share it all. And if you really want to help us out, you can join our Patreon. A link is in the description down below. Um, we would appreciate if you guys can do all that. Um, but now we will get into the divisional round bets of the week. And since I have a winning week, I'll start it off. And I'll take the Houston Texans plus 9.5 at the Baltimore Ravens. Um, the Texans and Stroud, like I said, I talked about it. They've been surprised. They're not going to surprise me this week, um, as they have all year. I expect them to play well, and that's why I'm going to bet on them. Uh, because I think they've been a reliable bet all throughout the season. The odds maker obviously did not expect much from them, and that's why they've been pretty undervalued. And I think they're undervalued slightly here. Um, not a ton, but I think they're slight undervalued here, and that's why I like the 9.5 point spread. I don't think they're going to get beat by 10 points. I think they're going to be get beat by a touchdown in this one. I still do think the Ravens will win, but I think it's going to be a closer game than the spread suggests. Um, I think if they can hold the run game, the Ravens run game a little bit, I think they can just go. CJ Stroud can go back and forth with Lamar on scoring, and that will keep them in the game. And and that allows for at least a backdoor cover. Thinking like 35-28 maybe, um, around there, and that'll still, even with that touchdown, that'll still be enough to cover this 9.5 point spread. Houston Texans 4-1 against the spread in the last 5 games, so I like their chances to keep within range.
I'm sitting right there with you now. You know, I don't feel comfortable, even with this, getting as many points as we are with Houston. Baltimore does have the offense to put up the numbers combined with their defense to limit the offensive scoring on the other side of the ball to make this an easy blowout. Um, Now, one thing I do like just looking at the numbers, seeing it currently where I'm looking, sitting at 9.5, possibly using this in something like a 7 point teaser where you're bringing that 9.5 down to 2.5. The total currently sitting at 43.5. So you're talking about, I would lean to the over, so over 36.5. But yes, I think this is a matchup where we see, um, as a score similar to like what you said, 35-28, something in the, low 30s, high 20s. My man Davon in the chat, he's saying this is a Ravens fan and 28-24, which falls right in line with sort of what I was just saying, where, if you're playing the spread, taking Houston in that 9.5 points, you cover with a score like 28-24. Even if you go the teaser route, bringing it all the way, see 6 point teaser, 7 point teaser, a 4 point victory is going to cover that 3.5. You definitely winning at, minus 2.5. So, you know, I wouldn't look to take the Ravens to cover the spread on this one, though I do believe they win this game outright. I am sitting with a Ravens ticket that I got back late regular season, but 5-1, not a bad number uh, on who I feel is the best team in the league. At the time, I believe maybe they were second or third in the odds when I got it. I'm sure there's probably a few people out there that potentially have something like 8-1, 9-1, maybe even something with, you're talking about 10-1 or even higher. So, I definitely like this Ravens team to win outright, but do not cover the spread.
Devon says Ravens going to be rusty. It will be a slow start type of game. That might be possible that they come in after the bye week, even after like 2 bye weeks that they had. Maybe they are a little rusty. Maybe they have a slower start, and maybe the second half is where they, kind of put up the points, which will help. Which does definitely help the Texans, keep it close. So we're all in agreement there. All right, we'll get into the next game, and I got the San Francisco 49ers minus 9.5 at home versus the Green Bay Packers. And Davon brought it up earlier. I think that Packers win was more on the due to the Cowboys' failures more than them being, this great team. Um, you know, despite the major upset win that they got, I still think their defense is bad. I mean, they gave up over 500 yards to the Cowboys, albeit they Cowboy, they were ahead by a ton of points, but they still gave it up nonetheless. And that's just what they've been doing throughout the season. They've been giving up a lot of yardage um, throughout, especially in the run game, where the run game is ranked number 28th in the NFL. And they're going up against who else but Christian McCaffrey in the 49ers offense, who can attack you in a multitude of ways. So I think it's just a terrible matchup for this Packers defense to try to stop all their weapons, especially when they're extreme. The one guy who did have a good game for the Cowboys was Jake Ferguson, beating them up in the middle, and that's where they've been vulnerable all season is in the middle. And I definitely think that's where George Kittle is going to kill them um, and eat them up in the middle of the field. And so like I said, just a bad matchup. And I think the 49ers will obviously get a way more of a pass rush than we got because we got zero pass rush. And what the Niners have with their pass rushers that they have, they'll definitely give it after Love more than the Cowboys did. Um, and the spread indicates that they didn't take much from the Packers win either. They still think the 49ers are way better. I think they're way better, and I think they're gonna completely obliterate them. It's gonna be a blowout that should have happened last week with the Cowboys, but I think the Niners will go ahead and take care of that blowout.
Yep, and I'm right there with you. Like, still not comfortable taking, basically a double digit spread, -9.5. You need to win by 10. Um, we've seen plenty of crazy stuff happen in garbage time before to cover a number like that. Um, but like you said, coming into this game, whether it be the defensive side of the ball or the offensive side of the ball, I mean, it's just scary what you're going to be looking at if you're the Green Bay Packers. We got Chase Young on one, Joey Bosa, just a number of names, whether it be defensive linemen, linebackers that are going to put pressure on the quarterback, get in the backfield, disrupt that running game. At the same time, on the offensive side of the ball, as you mentioned, you got CMC, who, for in some people's eyes, put up a at least to be in the conversation noteworthy season as far as MVP. You got Debo Samuels, Kittle. I mean, just a number of different ways that this offense is going to be able to do some damage. And are the 49ers unbeatable? No. Yes, we've seen them have cracks and flaws before. If this Green Bay defense can get to Purdy, rattle him, potentially get a little bit of a lead and make them lean more on their pass game. And, there are ways to bring down the 49ers, but it will take a shocking game to a lot of people's eyes because you don't see spreads like this in the playoffs. You know, talking the last game where another 9.5 point spread. If I'm not mistaken, both these numbers opened at 10 and have been bet down a little bit, at least in some places. And you know, we've said it before through the regular season that double digit spreads are very risky and challenging to play if you're talking about taking the favorite. But I do see the 49ers coming in and winning this game by double digits.
All right. We'll get to the third game of the week. And that is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Detroit Lions. The Lions are -6.5, and I'll lay the points with the Lions. I see this game pretty similarly to the Niners and Packers game. I think the Bucks win had more to do with the Eagles collapsing, um, their major collapse of the season, and how bad they played more than I think the Buccaneers are that much better than um, or that great about how they played. I feel exactly the same way um, with the Packers as I do the Bucks, and I still have to stick with what I had to what I said before. I'm not betting on Baker Mayfield. I can't do it. I mean, this is what he does. He has a really good game, and then the next week I want to bet him, and then I get burned, and that's what's happened multiple times this season. And I'm not going to get burned this time. I'm going to go with the Lions. In the first matchup, the Lions won by 14. Um, they won it 20-6, and that was on the road in Tampa. This time they're going to be at home in Detroit. Goff had a great game in that game that he threw for like over 300 yards and a couple of touchdowns. And I don't believe the Bucks will be able to really run on the Lions. Lions are ranked number 2 in rush defense. Um, that will make the Bucks one dimensional. It'll be all on Baker to make plays, and that'll be able to Aiden Hutchinson to go after him, tee off on Baker, and uh, they'll get after him. Um, the Lions really good against the spread, 12-6 on the season, 4-1 the last five games. So I think that Detroit can win at least by 7 points there.
I've been big on the Lions the past couple of seasons, and like my man said, it's dangerous betting on Baker Mayfield. So I'm just gonna have to nut up and back these, Detroit Lions that hey, they go into the
Well,
NFC
we
Championship
got a
game.
red alert. We
I'm
got a red
telling you,
alert.
man, that there are not many games this week, so of course we're probably gonna end up on either close to or the same side on nearly every game. But yes, is it a matchup I like? No. Should the Buccaneers be this far in the playoffs? Probably not. That display that we saw out of the Philadelphia Eagles was rather mind-boggling. On a this was a team that was what was it, 9-1, 10-1, just past halfway through the season, and finished the season on what 1-9, something including the playoff loss, something like that. 1-8, just I mean, you almost want to say remarkable, but this ain't something you should be proud of. So I won't discredit the Bucks, saying they don't belong here. Hey, you won your games, you won your division, you beat who was put in front of you. I'm pretty sure every other team in the NFC playoffs was sitting there going, "Man, I wish I was playing Philly because that was an easy W." Um, but yeah, I cannot back Baker Mayfield in this game. Um, you know, I think we saw at least Detroit expel a number of demons. Reaching the playoffs, winning the division, even having the opportunity to face off against basically the guy that whether he wasn't good enough was holding them back. I mean, you can make a lot of different arguments, different ways. Um, a lot of people said that it was the Rams that won that trade. Well, you know, the expectations were definitely different for those teams in that trade. The Rams won a Super Bowl. They met the expectations they were setting by completing that deal. Well, to
You can have a
find
win-win. There's always a win-win scenario.
exactly, and I believe this is I think that rare situation where did it happen immediately? No, but we're talking about the Detroit Lions in the playoffs. Not only in the playoffs, they are a near touchdown favorite in the playoffs. And not too many teams can say that. Uh, so yeah, I'm gonna be back in the Detroit Lions to go to the NFC Championship game.
All right, and Dave on agrees with us, so we're all on the Lions there. Um, and for the final game of the week, um, I have the City Chiefs plus 2.5 at the Buffalo Bills. Um, if Kadarius Tony does go off sides in that first matchup, I think the Chiefs win that game. Um, because I just think they're a better team. Despite the Chiefs having some problems with the receiving core, I think they really got something going with Mahomes to Rice connection. In the last game, obviously they still got Kelsey out there, um, but I think it comes down to the Chiefs defense in this game, which, like I said, they've relied on their defense to win them games when their offense hasn't been, as good as it has been in the past. When their receiving score has been struggling, that defense has really come through for them, and I think that can really force Allen into a few mistakes that he tends to make in these types of games. And I think that's going to be the difference and who wins it. And the Bills here have a losing record against the spread this season. They're only 8-10, not great. I just think the Bills will uh, do what they always do, and that is lose in the playoffs. And Mahomes will do what he does, and that's win it in the playoffs. So uh, I'll just take the 2.5. but also like the money line as well. And I think the Chiefs going to win it outright.
I'm definitely split on this game. You know, yes, it's the Chiefs in the playoffs. It's Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid in the playoffs. It's something we've known to. I mean, this is supposed to be money. This is, supposed to be what happens. They're supposed to win. They're going up, Josh Allen, Bills, 13 seconds. Like, the Chiefs are supposed to win. It's written in destiny.
Well,
It's
I
written
mean,
in the
according to the
script.
spread, they're not supposed to win, but
Well, no, see, that's just it. That adds to the flavor of the game script and, the NFL script. Oh, they're actually underdogs for once. They're on the road. Ha ha ha. You know, like how do we twist it up this time? Oh, what a twist. But yeah, I think I got to go with the Bills on this one. I mean, yeah, I've been burned by the Chiefs a number of times this season, talking about a very small spread. Um, not even needing, well, needing a field goal to win. Clearly, this is a matchup. Um, Neither team is at the heights that we've seen them in recent history. But I still think that's what makes this a rather even matchup. We've seen regression out of both teams. And I definitely expect a classic, a fight, a close game. Um, I almost feel like the team that wins is going to be the team that has the ball last, and I would not be shocked if that came on a field goal. Um, but I'm gonna be riding with the Bills minus 2.5.
all right. Oh, we got one game difference there. Avon is on my side. He likes the Chiefs with all their flaws, and Chiefs will capitalize on Josh Reckless. I totally agree with that. Um, so a little bit difference there, or one difference that we have this week. But we'll go over it one more time. There's only 4 games to go over. Um, we both like the Houston Texans plus 9.5 at the Baltimore Ravens. We both like the San Francisco 49ers minus 9.5 at home versus the Green Bay Packers. We both like the Detroit Lions minus 6.5 laying the points against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at home in Detroit. And then I have the Kansas City Chiefs plus 2.5 at the Buffalo Bills, and you have the Buffalo Bills minus 2.5 in Buffalo. And that'll wrap up our show and our bets of the week. Hopefully you can. There's only one difference. So you can either go the DWeezy side, you can go my side. But the other 3 games, I guess, I mean, you can either go with us or fade us. I'm pretty decent in the playoffs, so I would lean towards going with the picks. But that is the show. Any other bets you have for the peoples?
None that I've made so far yet. As I mentioned earlier, potentially using a teaser on that spread in the Baltimore game. Possibly doing the same thing with the San Francisco game, even though that I think they'll win by double digits and cover that original 9.5. Possibly, tying that maybe to the Buffalo. Maybe pair that with that KC game. If you're talking about a 6-point teaser, you're getting Kansas City at 8.5, and you'd be getting the Baltimore Ravens at 3.5. So there might be a few different angles. I am looking at some of the game totals, and things are, I won't say low game totals, but definitely a bit on the lower side. You're seeing a lot of sub 50 numbers. The Kansas City Chiefs Bills game, one that probably traditionally in the past was probably somewhere in the range of, closer to 60. We're talking about 45.5 in this game. So clearly the books are expecting a matchup like 23-21, somewhere in that range, 24-21. Um, you know, the Houston Texans, Baltimore Ravens matchup. We got a 43.5 there, which is a bit shocking. Leaning to the Baltimore Ravens defense shuts down that offense, because if you're talking about trying to cover a 9.5 point spread and the total being that low, you're basically talking about a game where the Ravens would have to win and not give up more than 1 or 2 touchdowns to have a real opportunity to cover that spread. So, we've talked about unders all year long, and it was even 50-50, and that's kind of how the regular season finished out when it came to the game totals over and under. So it could be that maybe there's a chance, an opportunity to take advantage of some of these game totals when it comes to the under.
Right. We'll just give a shout out to Avon. Thanks for watching, man. Great to have you here. Thank you all for tuning in. Only a couple more weeks of this NFL season. We got championship games, and then we got the Super Bowl. So just a couple more opportunities to make some money. But we'll be here for you. We'll be here for you, making all types of bets, all types of prop bets in the Super Bowl. So that'll be definitely exciting. So definitely tune in next week and a couple weeks from now, and we'll get all those bets in for you. But for now, you can tell the people where they can find you, DWeezy.
Yep, y'all can reach me at Backyard Action Media on YouTube and at the Yard Bets on Twitter.
And you can find me on Instagram and X/Twitter at NFLCam22. And you can find me on this channel doing Good Friends, Better Rivals. Hopefully one day we'll come back. I don't know what Ferris has been doing, but he's been gone for a while. So maybe we'll have a show, maybe not. We'll see. You have to tune in and find out. But like I said, we'll be here next week and the week of the Super Bowl. So tune in for that. But like I always say, every single show, let's get ready to make that money.